In the ancient land of Egypt, at the dawn of a new day, the great Nile River flowed, a source of life and worship for a mighty empire. But in the land of Goshen, God's chosen people, the Israelites, languished in slavery. It was here, after 40 years in the wilderness, that God called an 80-year-old man named Moses. From a bush that burned but was not consumed, the voice of the Almighty commissioned him once more, promising that his older brother, Aaron, would be his spokesman. Together, these two elderly brothers, armed only with simple wooden staffs and a divine command, began the long journey to the magnificent palace of Pharaoh. They walked past their own people, toiling endlessly under the harsh Egyptian sun, their hearts heavy but their purpose firm. They entered the grand throne room, a place of breathtaking opulence, to stand before the most powerful man on earth. Pharaoh, a king in his prime, sat upon his gilded throne, adorned in the splendor of his office. He was flanked by his courtiers and magicians, confident in their own power. Moses, his voice trembling at first, and then growing bold, stood his ground. Aaron stepped forward, his voice clear and commanding, declaring the message from on high. "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Let my people go." Pharaoh laughed, a sound of pure disdain. He demanded a sign, a miracle to prove their authority. In response, Aaron cast his staff to the ground. In an instant, the lifeless wood transformed into a living serpent, its scales shimmering as it slithered towards the throne. The court gasped, but Pharaoh remained unimpressed. He summoned his own sorcerers, Jans and Jambres. They too cast down their staffs, and through their dark arts 2 more serpents appeared, hissing and coiling on the polished floor. For a moment, tension filled the hall. Then a round serpent, empowered by the one true God, lunged forward. In a stunning display of divine power, it swiftly devoured the serpents of the Egyptian magicians. The court watched in stunned silence. Yet Pharaoh's heart was hardened. Pride etched itself onto his features, and he refused to yield. The next morning, by the banks of the sacred Nile, the confrontation continued. Pharaoh and his royal entourage had come for their morning rituals. Aaron, obeying God's command, raised his staff and stretched his hand over the water. The moment the staff touched the river, a horrifying transformation began. The entire Nile, the lifeblood of Egypt, turned to blood. The water thickened, and a foul stench of death filled the air as fish died and floated to the surface. From the grandest canals to the smallest wooden buckets, every drop of water in Egypt became blood. Panic and horror spread as people scooped up the crimson liquid, their sacred river now a symbol of judgment. Desperate, they dug along the banks, searching for clean water. Pharaoh's magicians, using their own enchantments, managed to replicate the miracle on a small scale, turning a small amount of water into blood. It was just enough to bolster Pharaoh's stubborn pride. He turned his back on Moses and Aaron, ignoring their plea and the suffering of his own people, and strode back to his palace, his heart unmoved. As Moses watched him go, a mix of sorrow and righteous anger filled his eyes. He knew this was only the beginning. The land of Egypt was now under a divine curse, its people thirsting beside the very river they had worshipped. This was only the first of 10 mighty acts of judgment that would finally break Egypt's grip on God's people and reveal the unmatched power of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Thank you for joining me in this journey through Exodus chapter 7. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Stay strong in faith, stay in the Word, and remember to read your Bible every day. See you in the next chapter.